I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What do you guys think? Brooklyn Nets 2026 offseason. And there was questions that needed to be answered. They currently have 17 players on the roster. This is a very interesting squad. Let me hear your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz. What is this rotation even going to look like? Or which players do you guys even still have like confidence in? Because I am so perplexed by who is like no clowning. Is that still a thing? Are we still buying in that? Like, I love Mikal Brown and Yago Noman being the two-headed kind of building blocks you're going with, but yeah, let's get into it. They went 20 and 62. Thank God they had Jordi Fernandez, who is a great head coach that I think really is a guy that I actually believe is one of the most underrated coaches in the league. And it's crazy to think 2 years ago in his first year, they had to make the team worse so they wouldn't overachieve. This year, they don't have picks and everything. And with the whole reform, I believe they'll actually be trying. They were -10 net rating, third worst in the league. They just didn't have anything going, turnover prone. You know, I don't even know if the roster was developmental. The definition of hodgepodge would have had the Brooklyn Nets in 25, 26 as the picture. Picture's 1,000 words. 108.2 offensive rating, 118.2 defensive rating, both near the bottom. 52% effective field goal percentage, which is kind of last-ish. 16.1 turnover rate and a 47.8 rebounding rate. And like that's just all just bottom of the league. I think they're just going to try to let the young talent grow and have their contracts and veteran situation just play out with what it is currently. And what that means is, let's see who's on the books. Porter's an expiring. Hopefully you wait to the deadline. Somebody gets that. Randall could develop some interest at the deadline. I see him more being a guy that they hope he plays really well this year and as an expiring contract, because more than likely he's going to pick up the player option next offseason. You hope that he plays well and that somebody has interest for him as a expiring, and maybe that's how you move on from that. And nothing against Randall, it's just kind of like he doesn't mesh with this roster, and there's only select teams that are going to be interested in a player of his play style. Terrence Mann, similar thing. Again, both of those players, once they become expiring contracts, they'll have more value than being a player that has an additional year on the contract, unless they're being traded for a player who has significantly more years, which the Nets more than likely would not want to do. Deron Sharp has a team option. It feels like they're just in a agreement where until he knows he has a better opportunity elsewhere that's going to pay him, he's cool here making the money that they'll offer him. Mo Wagner's the one that I kind of wonder about. And same thing with Keon Ellis, but you know, brings talent and depth to this team. And outside of that, yeah, those are the contracts that you really just have to worry about or be interested in knowing that are the veterans who may be on the move or may be around for a little bit longer. I think bringing in Randall gives Mikal Brown and Doman a proven interior scorer, especially if Porter gets traded. They'll at least leave him with a guy that can get buckets. He's a good rebounder, and he'll give the young roster a nightly go-to guy. And he's a good model to like mentor them. And he's not a bad dude. He just, his play style is just a certain, you have to have a certain roster construction. So you're trying to sell Randall as this stabilizing bridge, and he's fit next to two young ball dominant guards is a little bit tense, but both of them shoot threes, so it shouldn't hinder that. Mikal Brown is the lead guard of the future. He's a dog. He's going to be good. And you bring in a 3-and-D guy who, if he balls out well down the road, even if he doesn't fit your timeline, teams might pay you to take him on, especially he's on a cheap deal, 2 years, 19.2. Solid low volume 3-point shooter, a great defender. And you get a stretch big and locker room vet in Mo Wagner. Joshua Jefferson could be this developmental, like, undersized front court player. He's a good passer that I really like. And Josh Minot was smart bringing back, great defender. He's made jumps in his game since being given opportunity that he hadn't had in Minnesota, started with Boston, then continued with Brooklyn. Ron Sharps just gives you interior rebounding and rim pressure, which they need. Getting Nick Claxton after what seemed like one of his lesser years and moving up, 5 spots in the draft is huge. And then Zaire Williams heads to LA, and they moved off some guys off the back end. They still have Michael Porter Jr., who almost makes $41 million. It's going to give you scoring, but you have Iago Doman, who him, Nolan Traore are the 2 from last year's draft I feel the most confident. Then Drake Powell, because of his athleticism, has intrigue. Danny Wolf, I think, has the instincts and the IQ and shooting ability to make it. I just don't know physically, if you will. I don't know what to think of Ben Saraf and Noah Clowney. Let me hear your thoughts. But they targeted shooting and defense, especially with Wagner, Ellis. And I think the concern is they don't have much rim protection after Claxton being gone. None of these guys are like quote-unquote rim protectors. And what's the guard situation? And what's the expectation with the offense here? I think the identity is giving Mikal Brown and Iago Doman the opportunity to just play through their mistakes and have Randall and Porter to provide some shooting and structure when things go to crap. Defense will be helped by Ellis, Terrence Mann, Josh Minot, even Drake Powell. I don't know about the interior. They're still not a great shooting team, but they're going to try to win because they don't have their pick. Now, I wonder if Mikal Brown's going to fully seize the keys away from Iago Doman. Yeah, and if it happens, that's what seemingly should. There's also a chance that Doman realizes his potential, and all these TikToks he's posted have just been, smokescreen. And will Randall's presence accelerate the rebuild, or will he be able to rebuild his value and get traded? And really, who's going to guard the rim? That's my biggest intrigue. Now, out of their free agents, I don't think anyone's coming back. Maybe there's a world that they bring back Ochai Agbaji, which is funny. I went to college with Ochai and I just messed that up. But Ochai Agbaji is a solid player. When we saw his performance with the Raptors the year before, he showed that he could still play, and he wasn't terrible. I'm going to just have them re-sign him currently on what we'll do is a non-guaranteed minimum. It's like a training camp deal, non-guaranteed, 1-year deal. You throw him on there, you move the training camp, and in camp, if he doesn't pan out, which there's a great possibility that it just doesn't work. I also like how we had this roster all set up, and I think the biggest thing with a guy or with this team is them finding players that they believe are going to be able to contribute at a consistent basis, while also which players are going to help them win games will be the biggest thing to juggle. And I don't know who those guys are and which ones we should feel most confident about, because this roster is one that is Julius Randle and Mo Wagner both going to start, or do you start Daron Sharp? Because that's the other thing I wonder, because I would not be surprised if you think okay, Julius Randle starting with Mo Wagner spaces the floor, same thing Porter. That might end up being what they end up doing. Now, I don't think Ochai would be brought back here. It doesn't seem like they have any allegiance to him. And they're still going to have to make a move where they either trade somebody or 2 people are getting cut. And who those 2 people end up being, that's a difficult decision. It could end up being Noah Clowney. If you just don't believe, or right now, based off of HoopsHype, you have to extend him with the rookie scale at a minimum of 25%, which would be $12 million. And I wouldn't give him that. He really could be someone that they end up just waiving and carrying and just having that dead cap for this season, while they also would have to probably cut one more guard, and that might end up being a guy like Ben Saraf, who ends up just not fitting. So the 2 players that could end up getting cut are Ben Saraf and Noah Clowney. You walk away with a lineup, as I mentioned earlier, with Mikhail Brown, Yago Doman, Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle, Mo Wagner starting lineup with De'Ron Sharp and Danny Wolf as your two front court players, and then Joshua Jefferson as the reserve, Terrence Mann, Keon Ellis, Nolan Traore, and then Drake Powell, Josh Minot. Like, not an insane roster, but interesting one to say the very least. I want to hear your thoughts down below.